So let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. My name is Daniel Barrera Ortega, and I'm the program specialist at the School Gardens Organization Network. If this is the first time that you interact with us, welcome. We're excited to have you. The School Gardens Organization Network is an open peer-to-peer learning network for school garden professionals, and we provide professional development, leadership development, and platforms for connection, as well as resources for our members that provide programming at the local, state, regional, national, and I argue international level as well. And we're excited to have you here for today's webinar, Communicating Success, presented by Abbi Mars, Regional Garden Coordinator at Calfresh Healthy Living in Santa Maria, California, and Sam Ullery, School Garden Specialist at the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, or OSSE, here in Washington, D.C. I'm also joined by my colleague, Tristana Perkle, the Executive Director of the SGSO-Network, and she'll be supporting me sharing some relevant links in the chat as well. So before we get started, just some quick announcements and housekeeping. A recording of this webinar will be shared via email by Friday, and it'll also live in our recording library. Shortly in the chat, you will also find a resource handout that's curated by our presenters. It'll also include the slides for today. So if you'd like to follow along with the slides on your own, then you can also do that as well. We'll be here for 75 minutes, so we aim to let you out at 3:15, and it'll be an hour of content with a last 15 minutes of Q&A. You can drop your questions in the chat, or you can use the Q&A function in your control panel. It should be a little question mark or a little Q&A button. I'll be collecting them, and then we'll go over all of those questions during the Q&A. We will also share a feedback survey. We love to know your feedback, what you want to see out of these webinars, future topics, as well as what you enjoyed or you want us to change. So please consider at the end of today's webinar leaving some feedback. We'll also share the link again later on today. Now on to some announcements. If you would like to keep the learning going from today, the SGSO Network has peer learning communities and affinity groups. These are member-organized spaces that meet at a cadence that they identify, where folks can organize based on role, on organization type, interests, or in the case of affinity groups, based on identity, to really just offer support to each other and really talk shop, problem solve, and build community. Some examples that might be relevant to today are we have a PLC for program directors and program managers. We have another one for statewide farm to school and school garden network leaders. And we also have a district-led school garden programs peer learning community. So if you work for a district, this will be a great space for you to incorporate school garden programming. This is just a smattering of our offerings. We have about 12 operating peer learning communities and affinity groups. So please, if you're interested, there will be a link in the chat where you can explore more the rest of our offerings. And if you see one that you would like to start, if you're like, I want something that's for me that I don't see represented right now, just send us an email at our info box, info@SGSO-Network, and we can follow up with next steps on how to get that launched and off the ground. This is also a reminder that the Growing School Garden Summit is coming up. And please sound off in the chat if you've been to the summit. We love to hear how folks are excited or how they enjoyed past summits. But the Growing School Garden Summit is the only school garden focused conference in the country, and it's hosted by the Sprouts Healthy Communities Foundation in partnership with LifeLab and the SGSO Network. These are 4 days of a packed schedule of peer-to-peer learning opportunities, networking, and really just trying to build deeper connections between school gardeners and create a stronger school garden movement. So it'll happen in February 19th through the 22nd in Phoenix, Arizona. So check out the link in the chat if you'd like to learn more. Registration is still open. This is also a reminder that this webinar is part of our 2025 SGSO Leadership Institute webinar series. So this is all featuring school garden leaders that attended the 2025 SGSO Leadership Institute, and them sharing their expertise, sharing what they're really good at in hopes that folks from the whole school garden movement can learn. The SGSO Leadership Institute is a week-long leadership and professional development retreat where school garden champions will come to Santa Cruz and just spend an entire week diving into promising practices and learning from each other and what really makes school garden programs thrive. This is hosted by LifeLab and Whole Kids Foundation in partnership with the SGSO network. This is also relevant because one, we do have an upcoming webinar. This will be in March. We're taking a break in February to help with the summit. But our next webinar is on plant selection and seed saving. It's part of the series. It's on Wednesday, March 25th, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, presented by our friends at Rooted, Brian Emerson and Forrest Smart. The link to sign up and pre-register will be dropped in the chat shortly. And also, I tell you about the Leadership Institute because applications for the Leadership Institute are currently open until January 30th. Ideally, this is looking for teams of 2. It can be from folks in the same organization or a mix of partner organizations, looking for folks that are supporting 4 or more schools that are implementing trainings for garden-based educators in the 26-27 school year, and are also willing to administer a pre-designed school garden program survey with their district and partner sites. This year's Leadership Institute will happen in June, from June 22nd to June 27 in Santa Cruz, California. It is a sliding scale payment system, and there's also stipends available. So definitely consider applying. It's an amazing experience. I'm sure there's many, we can all attest. You'll see, because Sam and Abby are from this cohort. So I'm really excited to pass it on. That's enough from me. Thank you all so much for being here. And Sam and Abby, please take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. How are you all doing today? I want to make sure first everyone can see the screen correctly. All right. So welcome to our presentation. We're going to be teaching about communicating success a little bit through social media and different platforms. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Abby Mars. I'm with Calfresh Healthy Living UCCE. I'm a regional garden coordinator. So my job is to help support and train Calfresh staff in several counties, including in California, including San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, Kings, Kern, and Tulare counties. And I also support my local team in San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara County on school garden programming, and youth engagement. Our program is SNAP Ed funded, so we really target the underserved communities and love what I do. And I'll let Sam introduce himself.
Thanks, Abby. Hi, everybody. My name is Sam Ullery. I'm in Washington, D.C. I work for the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, which is the equivalent of a state education office. And I am the school garden specialist. So I support the 100 plus schools with gardens in DC. I do this through training educators, providing guidance to schools to help them create new and sustain existing gardens. Another thing that I do is elevate school gardens as important teaching tools to the public. My program is funded through local funding through a sugar sweetened beverage tax, funded through the Healthy Schools Act, which was passed in 2010, which has funded the garden program and other things since then. All right, so today Abby and I are going to show you a few examples of how we have shared success. In addition to showing you, we're also going to talk a little bit about how we did it so you can take these examples and make them work for you. Lastly, we're going to list out some things that worked well for us along the way. And we have some time at the end, as Daniel mentioned, at the end of our presentation to answer questions, but heads up, we also have some questions peppered throughout, and we encourage you to respond in the chat. All right, let's get started with Abby's first activity.
All Right, so I'm just going to jump right into it. I do want to give a little backstory on this video if you've not seen it yet. This was filmed in December of 2021, so just coming out of COVID. Kids were back to school now for the school year. Usually around December is when we start clearing the garden beds from, all of the summer, fall crops. So everything's pretty much diminished and it's time to clear everything out and amend the soil and then work with the kids on planting new crops for the spring and for the winter, spring. So in this video, I do a garden walkthrough and I kind of check and see, what needs to get done and what's happening. And I did notice it looked like there was possibly some kind of surprise in this garden bed. So I thought, I think this would be fun for a class of first graders. So I invited a first grade class to this specific garden bed, and I just kind of took out my phone and started filming. So enjoy the video.
I can't even reach. Let's see how big it is. Keep digging, keep digging. That's a big carrot. Polly, let's see, keep digging. See if you can get it out. Polly's in there. Be careful.
So I want to pause. This is our first sprinkle of some engagement here. So go ahead and chat in your reactions to this video and how did it make you feel? Thank you. So many great comments. So to me, this is kind of my why. I like to show this and share this one because it's why we're all doing what we're doing, right? These kids are super excited about a carrot that they found in the garden, of all things. So I just want to kind of do a little background on this. So this video is something, I'm going to be sharing 3 different types of filming content during my presentation portion of the webinar. So this was what I'd call a candid video. There's other styles such as scripted and trending that I'll be sharing. With this video, and this is something I'm going to be following throughout, is I'm going to kind of check in and what audience, what's the target audience. So anything I'm making, any content, is I want it to be for all ages. The why is candid videos can contain just about any kind of content. They can be filmed or photographed on a whim with minimal planning. Platforms used can be Instagram Reels, Facebook, or TikTok. So this one was put as an Instagram Reel. And the impact, so this video has a current total of 5.5 million views. And the youth from this video, these little first graders are now in 5th grade and they still talk about it every day. So it's just really kind of heartwarming to get to see these reactions, the fun with the candid videos. And like I said, it's minimal planning, but there's a couple things you want to take into consideration before filming that I'll go into. But for this, I feel like it makes the garden work feel accessible and relatable to anyone. So general best practices I want to go into when filming youth at a school garden or community garden. So The very first thing I always take into consideration is holding space for autonomy. Ask your subject or subjects if it's okay with them to take photos or videos. You want to give them that ability to say yes or no. Some kids are not comfortable with having a camera or phone pointed at them. Next, check with a teacher or school staff about photo releases, because there have been times that I have had students very eager to be in front of the camera, but then find out for whatever personal reason or legal reasons, the guardians or parents of these youth do not want them photographed or recorded. Also, if your organization requires specific photo releases, make sure to have hard copies on hand. Also make it accessible. With Calfresh, we also have a digital link that can be sent out. So that's something I can share with teachers and staff, and that can be sent digitally to Parents Square for parents or guardians to complete. Also, all outs if necessary, a face or faces can be blurred out or covered up. And then once you confirm the above, start photographing and filming, because you don't know what you're going to capture. It could be just about anything. So again, you'll be hearing more about other styles, but these best practices right here, they apply to all. So right now, for another little engagement part, drop in the chat what styles of video have you created or are inspired to create now. All right, thank you. While those are kind of coming in, I'm going to move into the next slide here. So I want to also go over best practices for candid video. So the best practices specifically for these are, you want to plan a little bit. As I said before, there's some planning to do. So what will you be doing in the garden? And then take into consideration, what's the weather? Is it cloudy, cold, snowy, windy, hot? What's the weather like? What's your subject material going to actually be? Who are your stars of your photographs or videos? And then lighting, make sure there's going to be enough lighting so you're not just filming in the dark. And the location, where are you going to be? So supplies are minimal. You can bring a tripod, any other videography supplies. And if this is going to be a real hands-on activity, make sure you have help so you are free to photograph and film. Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Sam now.
Thanks, Abby. I really enjoyed that video. Thanks for sharing. I've been using maps to share successes of school gardens for a while now, and I want to share some examples and why I do that. So first off, one of the reasons why I've been using maps is that they're easy to read. So for example, what information does this map here on the left of the slide show you? So just look at it and answer that question to yourself. Like, what information do you get from this map? Maybe it tells you that the data is in DC because you recognize like the outline and that's Washington, DC. Maybe it tells you that this is the location of school gardens in DC and you see the title there. Maybe it tells you there's a lot of school gardens in DC. Maybe they're distributed. Maybe you see that they're distributed in a certain way, and that's some information that you get. So whatever you notice or whatever information you get from this simple map, ask yourself, like, did it feel easy to get that information? Did it feel like you really struggled to get that, or was it easy? And also, did it lead to more questions for you? Like, were you Are you thinking about like some new questions now that you have about the data on this map? So one thing that I learned in using maps is that, first of all, I love them. I really love maps, and I find them really engaging. And people in general are really good at identifying positions of things, so like locations relative to something else, and the lengths of things, so relative distance between things. So maps are really good because you can obviously lend themselves to location and distances. So it's quickly to easy see, for example, like where school gardens are clustered. So in terms of sharing successes, maps like this have been really helpful for me because it's a way for the public to easily understand the information that you're trying to share, especially if it's about spatial patterns. Also, I'll show on the next slide that maps can be really great at showing changes over time. So I'll show you that in the next slide. Here you can see, that's okay, go back one. You'll see on the right, there's a slider. So first I can say that there were 75 school gardens. Hold on one second, Abby, can you pause it? Sorry. So on the left side, I could say that there were 75 gardens during the 2011-2012 school year, and that there were 133 school gardens during the 2024-25 school year. Okay, I can say that, and I can write that in a report or put it wherever. Or another way to show that same information is by using a map. So go ahead and hit play, Abby, on that video. So this is a slider map. And you'll see the blue icons are the 75 school gardens. And as I move the slider to the right, it shows the green icons, which are the 133. So ask yourself which is a more powerful way of sharing success for you. Is it that sentence or is it the map? All right, let's go to the next slide. Another example that I'd like to share is an event that we call Garden Palooza. We actually did it for the first time this year in DC. And I used this map creating a software called ArcGIS, which is a paid subscription. And I understand that not everybody has access to ArcGIS. I will talk a little bit later about some free options that you can do something similar in. But I use ArcGIS, and I used a data collection tool called Survey123, which is on your phone. It's a phone-based app, and it allows you to take photos and collect data in the field. And when you do that, it automatically uploads that information to a map. So this map here. So this was a one-day event where we visited every school garden in DC and snapped a photo of that garden. We had a team of 8 people, and we visited 133 school gardens in one day. When we snapped the photo on our phone, the app that I mentioned, Survey123, automatically identified the location and uploaded it to the map. We also had somebody in the office at a computer monitoring the map to make sure that the photos looked good, that everything uploaded okay, and was there to troubleshoot like any issues that might have happened. Like there were some places where there was dead zones for the cell reception, so we had to email the photos to them, and then they were able to upload it to the map. Again, we use ArcGIS. However, Google Maps, which I'll show next, you could do something very similar in there, and I'm really curious to hear if people have been able to do this with Google Maps. It's just not going to happen right away in Google Maps like it does here. So you can scroll through here and you can see the photos. You can click on locations to see, or you can click photos on the right and it'll take you to the location. So it's a pretty nifty little tool, and you can see that in every photo we had DC School Garden Week, and in the photo just to mark that all those photos were taken on the same day. So this also became like a social media campaign as well. All right, next slide, please. Yeah, so a few best practices with sharing maps. So I would say the first thing is to ask yourself, is a map the best way to share the information and to share the success? If the map is distracting from it, then maybe it's better to share it in a different way. And then what information do you want to share? What do you want the audience to walk away from? What do you want them to understand as the key points? The third thing is find a platform. So this is a image of all the school gardens. So the same thing that I was showing in the previous two maps, only using Google, and it's free. I didn't go all the way as to add photos, but there is the ability to attach photos to each location and probably do some other really interesting things too. So I encourage folks to explore that or other free options. I do believe that there's some other free options out there as well. Or maybe find a partner like someone in an organization that has access to ArcGIS or other GIS mapping softwares that they can maybe help you in your mapping efforts. Make it easy to read and understand, and invite educators to contribute. So we had a lot of success with our Garden Palooza map. When we went to the schools to snap the photo, we asked the teacher at the school to show us, where's the garden, but also like, what are you really excited about? What do you want us to take a photo of to include in the map? So it wasn't just us saying like, oh, this is what we think people want to see. We asked the garden coordinator and the educator. Okay, so I have a question for folks. How have you used maps to share successes, or what are you inspired? How are you inspired to use maps to share successes? So if you want to, I invite you to add anything to the chat in response to that question. Nice. Yeah, I want to try the Google Maps, because even though I have access to this, I want to just see how it works, how it's different. Well, thank you all for hearing me and sharing, and I'm going to pass it back to Abby now.
All right, thank you, Sam. So back to some of my different social media styles for working with youth in the garden. So this next one I'm going to share about is, I call it interview style. So this one, it's more of, not just candid, but it's kind of half and half, because I plan ahead, I create some questions to ask the students about what they're doing and just kind of let them answer, and I film that. So it's candid in how their answers are, but it is planned out by me thinking of the questions ahead. So backstory on this was just 2 years ago. You can see the date on it, October 5th, 2023. This was posted as an Instagram reel to our page, our Calfresh page. So these are some student leaders. I had some 5th and 6th graders out there, and they needed to pick some apples for a certain project. And I'm going to go ahead and start the video, and they will share why they're picking the apples.
Okay, so I'm going to be showing you guys what we are doing right now. So we're harvesting apples, and we are going to be using them for later for our snack club here. Camera person. This is very hard. We're weighing some apples, and we're weighing them till 4 pounds. And right here we have our mark, and we've weighed 10 of those. So we need one more, so I got to add. So the reason we're weighing apples is we have this thing called Snack Club, where we do a bunch of cooking lessons with the UC Master Food Preservers, and we had to weigh 48 pounds for the food today. There's one. We're also doing quality control, like finding apples like with bug holes and bug bites.
What do you do with the ones with the bug holes?
We put them in compost.
What happens to them there?
They get eaten by worms, roly-polies. And they decompose.
All right, so that's another video I wanted to share, highlight. That is on the Instagram account as an Instagram reel. So before I move into more detail on this, as a little engagement here, I'd like to ask, how did this video make you feel, and did it inspire you on ideas for candid interview videos? Go ahead and chat that in. You want fruit trees now? Yes, this group in particular was very confident and very comfortable in front of the camera, as you can tell. All right, so just to go a little more into this, so details on interview style videos. So again, the audience is all ages. I'm continuing with the same best practices. So why? Interviews can lead the subject to discuss specific information while still empowering the subject or subjects to use their own creativity. Platform used Instagram Reels, but you can also do it on Facebook, TikTok, other platforms. And the impact, quite a few viewers have liked and shared this informational educational videos, and the youth enjoy watching the videos with their classmates and friends. So to me on this one with the interview style, the impact is clear and accurate messaging. It's got a consistent tone and branding, and it saves time during filming and editing because it's structured. So, I mean, you can guess I had some editing to do with this one after taking all the videos and content, but it was minimal, and again, another favorite style I like to use. Best practices for interview styles. So before starting, have a discussion with the youth ahead of time to empower them and share tools needed to offer confident interview content. That's a big thing. Again, making sure that whoever I'm filming, they want to be filmed and they feel confident and supported in being filmed. I don't ever want to make them feel uncomfortable or pushed into anything they're not really comfortable doing. So interview style content doesn't need to be rehearsed, and it can lead to something very memorable. And one of my biggest things I go with all the time is, let them have fun. They are kids. I do expect a lot out of these 5th and 6th grade leaders, but they are kids. And again, this group in particular was not camera shy. They like to take my phone. And so I would give them a hard time and share the pictures that they took as selfies to kind of teach them not to do it all the time. Okay, that's my section of interview style videos, and I'm going to pass it back to Sam.
Thanks, Abby. All right, I want to talk about events and competitions as a way to share school garden success. So before I get into that, I'll talk about why I do this. First off is that I want to find opportunities to celebrate the work of both students and teachers in the school garden. I think in general, they just don't get enough recognition for the work that they do. And so this is a time, whether it's an event or a competition, to really recognize them. And then also kind of selfishly, but it's also an opportunity to collect data and information on school gardens that we don't normally are able to get. So that's why I do it. And then at the bottom here's 3 examples, and each of these are hyperlinked. You'll get a PDF version of this that you can access. That's also, you can click on your own time to learn more about some of the events like DC School Garden Week, the Best School Garden Award, which I'm going to talk about more on the next slide, and Growing Healthy Schools Month. Okay, next slide. All right, so I'd like to talk about our Gilda Allen Best School Garden Award that we have been doing each year since 2012. And this award is a competition that takes place during DC School Garden Week, which is a week in October where we recognize school gardens. So this is one of the ways that schools can be involved. So OSSE, our organization, invites students to share why their school garden is the best. So we encourage students to share any special, fun, or memorable experiences they've had in their school garden. They can get creative with their entries. We accept entries from individual students. We also accept entries from like class entries or even like grade level or school-wide entries like group projects. So we've seen entries range from photos to videos to creating art to performing music, writing a poem or a short essay, but everything answers the question, why is your school garden the best school garden in Washington, D.C.? So that's the prompt, and then they choose how they want to respond to that. So while it's called the best school garden, we actually recognize every school, every student or school that enters the competition. We don't like have a rubric where we're judging like, oh, this school garden is better than that. So it's a little misleading, but that's how we do it. And we post all the entries and the winners on our website. We also put out social media posts highlighting their submissions. And we go to the school and present certificates and trophies. The trophy is a golden shovel. It's just a regular shovel that I spray paint gold and hand out to the students or the class. Sometimes this is just one student, so they get pulled out of class and have kind of a little like congratulations, shake their hand and give them their certificate and the trophy. And sometimes it's a whole school assembly, and I don't always know when I go to the school which it's going to be. So I kind of have to be ready for both of those things. So it's really great to go to the school and congratulate them. Here's a photo of me with one of the classes this year and a quote from their entry, from part of their entry, talking about why their school garden is the best. So the next thing is just talking about DC School Garden Week and quickly and Growing Healthy Schools Month, which are very similar in that we celebrate school gardens. One thing I do recommend as a best practice if you are going to do events is to really think about what you're asking for from schools. And I have learned over the years that schools are less likely to participate in the event if you're asking them to do more things, to do more work. So we try to take on a lot of the work, like with Garden Palooza, going around taking a photo of every school in the city. We don't ask schools to take a photo and send it to us. We actually go to the school and take the photo. So we're really like trying to be sensitive to what we ask schools and be clear about how they can participate. Okay, next. Wait, we have a question at the end of this one, I think. Yes. How have you shared successes through events and competitions? Please share in the chat. And I'll, as you share, I will hand it off to Abby.
All right, thank you, Sam. So go ahead and keep those chats coming in a little bit here, and I'm gonna go on to the next slide. So this one, the topic is on social media trends. So this one, it's a little less candid and a little more scripted. There's multiple takes that might have to be used. I'll go into that afterwards. Just a backstory on this is I found a trend that was popular at the time and talked to the students about it. And again, it's some of these you're going to see are the same group because they were very, very confident and excited to be in front of the camera. Anyway, so I told them about the trend. About half of them already knew about it, half did not. And I let them think of their own things that they wanted to share in the trend. And I just started filming and we had a lot of fun doing this one. So enjoy the video.
We're student garden leaders. Of course, we're going to hang out in the orchard. We're student garden leaders. Of course, we're going to want to hold worms in our hands. We're student garden leaders. Of course, we love to spray the compost and our friends. We're student garden leaders. Of course, we want to use chicken poop for our garden beds. We're student garden leaders. Of course, we tell people to not stand on the stumps. Get down! We're student garden leaders. Of course, we use dirt as moisturizer. We're student garden leaders. Of course, we're going to pull up to the greenhouse and ask for a cup of soil. Go. We're student garden leaders. Of course, we're going to argue about who gets to do the nutrients. I wanted to do it! I called it! No! We're student garden leaders. Of course, we eat flowers as food. Nutritious. Actually.
All right, so that was the third of my 3 videos that I'm sharing today. So I want to ask again, how did that video make you feel and how did it inspire you? Go ahead and chat that in. Yeah, very fun group of students. Yes, so they can identify what they're doing and share. Yes. Exactly. Yes. All right. Thank you for the chats. They can keep coming in if you want. I'm going to go into the next slide. So this one, again, talking about different trends and just identifying what can be turned into a fun gardens perspective video, because kids know more about trends than you might realize. And this gives them the opportunity to make one of their favorite trends their own and educational at the same time. And also by replicating a format that's already been a success is more of a proven model for success, and to get more engagement and education going on to those watching their fun videos. Going into details about trending content. So all audience, this again, the audience is all ages as long as it's age appropriate. The why, trends are fun to duplicate and make your own. Platform, again, it was Instagram Reels, but you can use Facebook and TikTok. And the impact, again, like I was saying, because it's trending content, there might be more views, and this makes gardens cool, right? These kids are in here doing a cool trend. So they're cool, the garden's cool, and they're getting to share their pride in their school garden. So best practices for trends. On this one, a little different than the other ones. So, research the trends ahead of time so you don't find yourself in a difficult place of trying to explain why a certain trend can't be done. So this is something I've done a lot working with youth leaders is, empowering them and letting them have the option and letting them make choices, but you can steer them in a certain direction and say, okay, these are your choices. Which ones do you want to take? Instead of them coming up with some that might not be okay to use and having to turn them down on that. This helps boost their confidence even farther. So once deciding on one trending video to follow, discuss it with your cast and give them time to produce their own ideas and make it educational, make it their own. You want to be available to rehearse a couple of times in front of the camera. This helps them become less camera shy, and it's a great opportunity for bloopers as a keepsake later on, right? So you can imagine we had to do several takes for these videos. And it was nice to put a bloopers video together and then get the whole class together to share with their peers and watch the bloopers for fun. So that's best practices on trends, and I was happy to get to share a few different video styles with you, and I'm going to turn it back to Sam for the next slide.
Thanks, Abby. All right. So my last example that I'd like to share is how I have shared success through promoting garden-based trainings. I'm sure many of the folks on this webinar do some type of educator training for school gardens. And I'd like to talk a little bit about this and how I share the success of it. And first I want to talk about why. So firstly, it's to increase participation in the training. So really just very basically like letting people know that there's a training and sharing how successful that training has been in the past and what the impact of them attending the training could possibly be, or what the intended impact is. Also, managing expectations. So sometimes teachers come to our trainings and they say things like, this is way better than I expected, or this is not what I expected. Can I leave? They don't say that much, but managing expectation. And on the flip side, it also reduces the chances that a teacher might attend that training and it feels like a waste of their time, right? Like we don't want to waste anybody's time. We want people to kind of know what they're getting into. So thirdly, then finding the right people. So sharing the success of the training, in my experience, has attracted people that are looking to build their garden programs in the way that we are training them to build their garden program. For example, we have these monthly gatherings that we do, and we're very clear that these are places these are gatherings each month that you can come to connect with other people. It's not so much about learning how to manage a compost bin, but it's really about making connections with other people. So in being clear, people come ready to connect, not necessarily ready to sit and listen to somebody demonstrate something or talk. So 3 examples below. We use alumni from our trainings to provide testimonials, both in writing and just at their school to talk to other educators. We have a promotional video, which I'm going to show on the next slide in a moment. We also created a poster that we can take to events and to really give a visual on what our trainings are like. All right, let's go to the next slide. And I have a video too. I can be cool. I got a video. All right, wait, before you play it, just some background. So I filmed this last year at our Summer Institute, which is a 4-day training that we do for teachers to allow them to be more comfortable and gain skills to teach garden-based education. I just used my phone and a tripod to film this. I asked people if they wanted to be interviewed on the last day of the training. I had some questions that I asked them. During the training, I was just taking video, filming on my phone, and I used I used a, what are they called? An iMac, a computer, a Macintosh, to film it using iMovie. There's also a free software for PCs that's called Shop Pro, and you can use that too. It's like free if you want to go that route. So, all right, let's watch the video.
The Summer Institute for Garden-Based Teaching is a 4-day training that inspires and connects DC educators so they can integrate their school garden more fully into instruction.
Learning more about the garden was very appealing to me, especially in this beautiful space. We have garden beds at our school that we use, but not as consistently as I would like.
Well, I chose to come here because really learn a lot here. They're very knowledgeable and they're very supportive, and different resources and things like that. Also networking with teachers and staff with like minds.
I'm here to gain knowledge, to build curriculums, to take over to my school for longevity. So I've learned about worm composting, and I've learned about trellising, and I learned about a lot of different other things that can help us keep plants growing strong.
In the course of the last 4 days, we learned a lot of things about starting, creating, and cultivating a garden. One of which is to first start with your why. And my why is being that I started in the garden with my grandmother in Detroit, Michigan, and it was something that we did together. That's something that I feel as though the students here and DC deserve. And through this program, I am learning the core values and strategies and ways to do that with the children.
We realized that we needed to gain more skills to better serve our students here, because we have a lot of ideas, but we just want to make sure we go the right direction. So we jumped at the opportunity, and I think that was the best decision that was ever made. The networking was definitely a benefit. I think the way this week was set up was very, very fruitful. Being able to go to the schools and see how other people have done it differently gave us some insight of what we can do.
I'm going to apply what I've learned here with the students, because I've learned a lot how to teach the students how to work in their with the peers, work together as a group in teams. I have learned that what they eat, they can also plant.
I wanted to do something this summer, and when this opportunity came across, I was like, this is great, because I just recently got into gardening and in our gardening club. So I'm super excited about being here and thinking of creative different ways to incorporate mental health, wellness, social things into the garden. One thing that I'm going to create back at our school is a sensory garden.
Eligible participants are associated with the school campus with an active school garden program, apply with at least one other school team member, and are committed to attend all the sessions. All participants receive high-quality training led by experts in the field, a stipend, and supplies for their school garden. After attending the Summer Institute, participants are excited to apply their new skills, know more about gardening, and are deeply aware of the benefits of school gardens. If you are interested in attending a future training, click the QR code to find out more.
Sorry that was a little choppy for everybody. Hopefully you got a sense of the video. So we've had people come to that training, and on day 2, they're like, I didn't know this was going to be outside. And so, the idea that it's clearly like we're outside, it's hands-on. There's a lot of activities, a lot of movement that gives people like help, an expectation of the training. So thank you for allowing me to share that. Let's go to the next slide. I'll talk a little bit about best practices, and then I'll hand it back to Abby or actually to our poll to wrap up. So in terms of the promotional video for the Summer Institute for this training, like I mentioned, I took a video. I also took photos and the sound. So you maybe not have heard it because it was really choppy, but I did use a lapel mic, one that just clips to your collar, and it was $20. And honestly, like the expensive ones, they're maybe just slightly better, but I think it turned out pretty well with just a pretty cheap lapel mic, and that way you can really hear, because it's windy. There's all kinds of background noise and things like that, so that really helped with the audio, I think. I wrote out a script beforehand, so I looked at the training schedule. I made myself familiar with the training, and I thought through like what I wanted to film the best I could. So I had a lot of video, B-roll to use throughout. And I should note that like this could have been like a 10-minute video, but I couldn't make I didn't want it to be that long. So it just had a lot of extra video. So just there's never enough video. I found like that I went back through it and I was like, oh, I'm so glad I took that video of the sorrel. Like I didn't think about it at the time, it was just extra, but as I was making the video, I was happy that I had that. And then and then you can see I shared some slides, like some data and some quotes from participants. And then the last thing is we added this year to our training, but rather than having just a window where you can apply for the training, there's now a link to an interest form. So any time of year, if a teacher watches this video or learns about it and they're really excited, they can fill out the interest form, and that way we can make sure they get the application when it's available. All right, so I don't think there's a question here. We can move to the next. Yeah.
All right. Sam, do you want me to open up the poll?
Yes, please.
All right. Everybody should be receiving a poll that you can answer right about now. And results are coming in. So I'll leave it on for a minute or so. So speak your truth or forever hold your peace.
I feel like this is like voting for which. I hope people don't feel pressure that like if you don't vote for one of mine, it's like I'm gonna take it personally. Is really a poll about what is helpful?
Yeah, I'm seeing the results come in live. I'm gonna leave it for about 10 more seconds, so we can catch a few more replies, and then I'll be able to share the results. And the results will be baffling. Um, it's really interesting to see what folks find most accessible. All right, I'm gonna end the poll and I'm gonna share the results. There we go. So as you can see, candid videos seems like it's the most accessible tool, which is awesome. But there's a really good smattering of everybody trying to pick something different. So awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, folks.
Right. Yes. Thank you for participating in our poll. And just to kind of wrap up, we want to thank all of you for attending our webinar. I hope it was helpful. I'm sure you have questions, which we're just about ready to ask. But if you wanted to contact us at any later time, I have myself and Sam's email right here. And again, thank you all so much. And I'm going to turn it back over to Daniel now.
Awesome. We're going to transition into our Q&A. So there's a couple questions coming in, and please continue to add them through the Q&A function or just drop them in the chat, and we'll tee them up for presenters as they come in. So Abby, the first one is, we know you're really cool and you keep up with all the cool trends. Abby is the queen of trends. So how do you find trend inspiration for trend videos?
On my free time, I go down the rabbit hole and scroll Instagram and TikTok. I'm guilty. And I find trends that way. And I start thinking, that one might work or this one might work. So that's kind of how I get inspired.
Awesome. I also feel like asking students what's cool could be helpful. They're the ones keeping up with the times. Then there's another question. Somebody saying they're starting a new nonprofit with support with other nonprofits and an amazing mentor to provide farm-based programs for kids and families in addition to composting and culinary workshops. That's really awesome. Do you have any suggestions on where to begin in building an online presence for programming that hasn't started yet? With photo releases, should they use photos from their years in school as a school garden teacher, or how would you all approach that?
Can you say that last sentence one more time?
Yeah, totally. Do you have any suggestions on where to begin in building an online presence for a program that hasn't started yet? So with photo releases, should they use photos from their years as a school garden teacher?
I know with photo releases in DC, it's an annual thing, so I always check each year. So I think it's more about like if it's within the same school year.
Yeah, same for me. The photo releases are annually, so you'd have to check for that year and make sure, because even if you have them from the year before, it's possible something changed.
Awesome, thank you. I'm just looking through. Here we go. Also, just to remind everybody, this webinar is recorded. So you will be receiving it in an email, and it will live in our webinar library as well. I do have another question. Actually, this one's for me because I struggled with this when I was teaching. Is how do you go about? Do you label your video, your content, or how do you store your content? Do you keep it organized? It's just kind of like you download it as it comes.
That's a good question. My phone has way too many pictures and videos on it. So I go back through and I'll use what what I feel is best to use and what's approvable and everything. And then I should go back and delete everything, and I haven't found the time very often. So I try to go through and clear it. But everything I take is all from my phone.
Awesome, thank you. There we go. I'm just combing the chat, and please, folks, feel free to chime in with your questions in the chat. I'm just combing the chat to make sure that I didn't miss anything. And I don't see anything right now. I'm just going to give it a few more minutes to see if folks have any other questions. And again, feel free to drop them into the chat directly, or you can use the Q&A function. It should be a little question mark in your control panel.
Daniel, I have a suggestion if we don't have any more questions, but maybe at the beginning of the webinar, we asked folks to share a success. Could we ask now to share an example of how they share their successes? Like Abby and I just mentioned a few. It'd be really fun to hear how other people share success in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that idea. So folks, feel free to add in the chat. How do you all currently celebrate your successes? And in the meantime, I did just get a new question. We have a couple more minutes before we start transitioning out. How much time do you devote daily, weekly to work on communications or creating content?
I would say go ahead, Abby.
No, go ahead, Sam.
That's a great question. Increasingly, I've been spending more and more time amplifying the work that is happening in DC and really thinking about my role. So and it's winter also. So I would say that I probably spend 25 to 40% of my time on some kind of like communication, promotion, outreach project.
And I feel for me, it's kind of random just because I'm working on a lot of different projects. So at times when I'm at the school site more often, and once we get further into the school year and I have the kids, kind of established with their roles and positions in the garden, I can spend 30 minutes, an hour to 2 hours, a week or something working on content and editing. But there's other times where I'm not really working on much because I'm on a different focus.
Awesome, thank you. Somebody did share that the way that they share their successes is through annual newsletters that reflect their growth and success. That's awesome. Just gonna give it a couple more minutes, see if any last minute questions come in, and if not, we'll start transitioning to our last closing announcements. All right, we have a couple more questions came in. If we need help finding families to weed, if we need help finding families to weed and water in the summertime, how would you get that input?
So one of the things that we do is we actually do try to organize community members to manage underutilized school gardens over the summer, especially. And that is a challenge. What we haven't found the perfect fix. I think if anyone has, please send me an email. I want to talk. But we do a couple things. We rely on the schools to reach out to their school community, so like the parents, to ask if there's anyone who might be interested in volunteering. We also have a program called Shared Roots, where we connect school gardens with community members. Community members water and weed in exchange for getting home to take home the produce that's in the garden or grow new things in the garden. So there's a little bit of a benefit for both. Like the school gets their garden maintained so it's ready for the first day of school, and the community member gets to harvest and grow stuff in the school.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, that's always been a big challenge for sure, is taking care of the gardens in the summertime. So for me, most of the schools I've worked with, they're all fenced in, locked up. It's hard to access in the summer. So generally, we make sure that the irrigation has timers to water automatically. And as far as weeds, it usually just kind of happens at the end of summer. We'll come back in and try to do a back to school work day to clean up for the school year.
Just one last question before we close out. How do you get more community members to watch your videos or just see your content?
I mean, I wouldn't say that's a good question. For the I would say for my maps, those are kind of geared mostly towards the community, whereas the training video and the competitions and events are more for schools. So in regard to the map, I think that, well, so we have like a map library where it's open data, and so community members can go and look for everything from like where work orders are happening in the city to where the school gardens are. So it's like embedded within that library. So maybe finding like something that's already existing that you can add your resource to that the community might go to.
Yeah, and for me, it's kind of word of mouth, or, during the school year, if we have garden work days, community work days, I'll share the info with parents, or sometimes it's shared out through Parent Square, but mostly word of mouth.
All right, I think this is as much time as we have for Q&A today. The emails of both of our presenters are in the slides that are shared in the resource handout, so you'll also receive that and be able to reach out with any other follow-up questions. And please join me in giving a round of applause to our amazing presenters of today. Thank you so much, Sam and Abby. This was super engaging, and all of the cool videos and really amazing maps, which also is a great segue for just a couple closing announcements. I'm just going to share my slides one last time. I just wanted to share that we at the SGSO Network are actually engaging in a mapping process currently. This is through the USDA Patrick Leahy Farm to School grant. And we are creating a national school garden map. This is in partnership with Kids Gardening, EcoRise, Edible Schoolyard, National Farm to School Network. And this is funded, as I said, by the USDA and the Sprouts Healthy Communities Foundation. And we have worked with these big national partners to consolidate and clean national school garden data about where school gardens are happening, as well as who is supporting them. And we are building a national map, which folks will be able to add their program onto the map or identify if they are already there through the work that we have done engaging with regional partners and national partners, and update their data. So hopefully this will be a really great tool for you all to interact with. As you continue to push for advocacy efforts, and as you continue to explore different ways of showing your success in your programs where you live. We're going to officially unveil the map in February 2026 at the summit, actually, at the Growing School Garden Summit. So if you're going to be there, we're excited to celebrate with you. And if not, that's totally fine because it'll be a publicly available tool. So we're really excited for that. Definitely be on the lookout. We will send out a lot of communication about this. That's really exciting. If you would like to also give us some feedback, we love your feedback. It lets us know what you want to see in the future, what you liked from today, what we should try maybe next time, or what topics we should keep in mind. Please consider filling out our feedback survey. It takes only a couple minutes. The link to the feedback survey will be dropped in the chat shortly. And continue to connect with us, because we also like to celebrate our successes in our programming, or share the programming that you are providing through our platforms. So connect with us at at SGSO Network on Instagram, or you can find us on Facebook. Spoiler alert, facebook.com/SGSO Network, or visit our website. And if you have any questions, please always feel free to reach out, info@sgsonetwork.org, and we will help connect you with resources or point you in the right direction or answer your questions. So once again, thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for your time today, and we hope to see you in our next webinar soon. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your afternoon.